Well, there's still no decision or way forward on e-tolls. However, Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula says a funding solution will be found. The AA says its research shows that Gauteng motorists will not pay under any circumstances. It's once again calling for the system to be scrapped. So let's discuss this now with the association spokesperson, Mr. Layton Beard. Mr. Beard, thank you for your time and welcome to the show. The minister there, the Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula, say that there is a funding solution in place. All we have to do is have an attitude change and all shall be well. What's your response?
Yeah, I think our response is that we know that there are alternatives to the user pay system or to the user pay system that government says it has. Our concern is that when we look at e-tolls, we know that compliance levels are very low, and those levels are not going to change, even under the threat of legal action. People have made principled decisions not to pay their e-tolls, and that situation is going to persist. And we told the minister that in a meeting in 2019, and along with other organizations that made the same type of recommendation to the minister. The bottom line is, in our view, is that e-tolls need to be scrapped. Those who have been paying need to be reimbursed, and there needs to be an alternative mechanism found to fund whatever debt there is to e-tolls. And in our view, there are many other mechanisms out there in which that money could be found.
Yeah. Why do you think, though, that the Transport Minister is still adamant that e-tolls is the funding solution that Gauteng needs?
Well, I think for a number of reasons, one of those being that this is a system that was implemented, and I think government wants to see that it works. Unfortunately, what we've seen over the last couple of years is that it doesn't work. So despite the best efforts of the authorities to want to make it work, it's just simply not going to happen. Like I said earlier, and our research is backing this up. People have taken a principled decision not to pay their e-tolls, and no amount of cajoling or threats of legal action is going to change that position. So we've got to simply find an alternative, and there are alternatives that are out there.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those alternatives. You provide them as suggested here. The ring fence of a portion of the existing general fuel levy to fund the Gauteng freeway. You saying this is one of the ways in which they can consider funding the Gauteng freeway?
Yeah, absolutely. You're paying 40% on taxes for every litre of fuel that you're buying. And when I think, when you look at some of the money that is going into the general fuel levy, our view is why can't we take some of that money out? It doesn't have to be a huge amount of money, especially when you look at the numbers that the general fuel levy generates annually. You can take a portion of that out and you can use that to pay for e-tolls. We've also mentioned the patronage guarantee that's attached to the car train. 2 billion rand of the car train of the Gauteng transport budget is spent on the car train every year. And in our view, that's excessive. It shouldn't happen. And we want to know why ridership levels are being compensated for when the vast majority of people in the province don't have proper transport solutions. So we'd rather take 25% of the Gauteng transport budget currently goes towards compensating the private concessionaire Bombela through the patronage guarantee. Our view is that money should be taken and spent in other ways. And one of those ways could be on e-toll funding.
Yeah, and just before I let you go, this is because you're saying that while, maintaining a route is important, meeting other transport needs, what I'm trying to say, is equally important.
Oh, yeah, 100%. We're looking at the democratization of transport throughout Gauteng and the country. Everybody needs to have access to proper, reliable, sustainable, affordable transport. Everybody, not just a few people who can afford to ride on the car train. Everybody needs to have access to some form of transport, either to get to work or to actually find work, which is very important. And unfortunately, at the moment, we're not in that situation. Only a few people have access to proper transport, and we think that situation needs to change. And it needs to change by the reallocation of budget properly to those areas where people need it. And it's certainly not going to be with the expansion of the car train. It's not going to be with compensating Bombela through the patronage guarantee. And it's not going to be through the funding of e-toll. We need to find better ways of doing that.
All right. The AA's Layton Beard, thank you so much for your time and speaking to us this morning.